Hey guys, what's up? It is week 140. Got a bunch of reviews for you. Lots of good new releases, lots of cool stuff. But I want to start this off with a rant. I know everybody's like, a rant? Oh man, we got to hear this fucking first class annoying white guy problems, okay? That's basically what it is. But essentially, this is kind of also a little bit of a, warning to you guys about things. So fast forward to the reviews if you don't want to hear, old man rant about stupid shit. But, okay. So a while back, Best Buy has this buy two, get one. And I look and it's, a bunch of cool new releases, pre-orders. So I'm like, awesome deal. So I order a bunch of stuff, a bunch of, Shout Factory stuff I wanted to check out. And boom, I see the Golden Glove. And I'm like, awesome, man. And it says Blu-ray right next to it. I'm like, oh, cool, cool. So I order it, not really thinking, this is a couple months before its release time. So I order it. Essentially, it's supposed to come January 14th. It looks like it's going to come a little early. These are shot a week ahead of time. So I'm pretty excited. But then I start looking around websites, and I'm not seeing any Blu-ray except a foreign import from, I believe, like Germany. So I'm like, that doesn't seem right. So I contact Best Buy, because I'm not seeing a Blu-ray, and I wonder if they just mislabeled on their website Blu-ray instead of DVD. Okay, so that could very well be the case, and I understand. So I contact them through their chat. The guy says, I just checked with the distributor, and it looks like it's a Blu-ray. So I was like, oh, it's a Blu-ray exclusive? And he basically confirms it's a Blu-ray exclusive for Best Buy. I'm thinking, really weird Blu-ray exclusive for Best Buy, because Strand isn't advertising that it's a Blu-ray release at Best Buy or anything like that. No one's advertising a Blu-ray. Blu-ray.com doesn't have it listed, so I'm kind of baffled, but I hope for the best. Okay, the DVD is basically coming in the mail, or Blu-ray. It's listed as coming. So I open it up. It came today. I opened the damn thing up, and of course, it's just a DVD. I wouldn't have ordered a DVD. I don't want a fucking DVD, okay? I would import the Blu-ray from the different country as English subtitles, or I'd buy it on HD. I don't want a Blu-ray. I don't know why companies like Strand think that the Golden Glove's going to sell on Blu-ray. I really can't see it selling on DVD. I can see it selling on Blu-ray, and that's why I was very confused when Best Buy said it was an exclusive, and it's nowhere listed anywhere. So I contact Best Buy again. Remember, this is a buy two, get one. I explained to the lady on the chat. It was a guy the first time, a lady on the other one. So the guy basically lied to me. So the lady gets on there. I tell her it was a buy two, get one. I contacted someone, and they told me it was a Best Buy Blu-ray exclusive. She says, I'll look into it. It looks like they sent you the wrong product. And I was thinking, oh, so there is a Blu-ray, and it's just a missend. So I'm like, are you sure? Because I'm not seeing this Blu-ray anywhere else. The UPC pops up on Amazon. So I'm basically doing her job for her. And she says, you know what? Let me double check on this. And she says it looks like there isn't a Blu-ray and it's been a miss type or whatever, so she's going to send me a return label. I said, but this is a buy two get one, and this was the free item. I mean, what am I going to get on a refund like that? Basically, I don't want to send this in and get $5 as a refund or anything like that. So she keeps telling me to send it back. She says, and I keep explaining that to her. She doesn't tell me that, and she also tells me this. Get this. She says, oh, go ahead and contact Best Buy and let them know it's mislabeled on their website. And so I'm thinking, you want me to do your job? I already wasted 20-30 minutes on this right now. I'm very annoyed already. You sent me, A, you had it mislabeled, okay? And then B, you lied to me. And C, I wasted one of the buy two get ones on a DVD I didn't want. So basically, you screwed me 3 times, and you have the nerve to ask me to go do your job for you. I don't get it. So the lady tells me to keep sending it back and you'll get a refund. And eventually she comes back and she says, wait, oh, it's a buy two, get one? After I told her 8 times after she already sent that refund slip in my email, oh, we can't refund you there. So I'm like, so what am I supposed to do? I asked her to take out my garbage too, because I figured, maybe she can just, do the stuff I'm responsible for, since she's asking me to do the stuff she's responsible for, even though she's probably not responsible for, telling Best Buy they made mess up. She's probably only like, customer service deal or whatever. Probably in whatever from some other country or whatever, not even related to Best Buy. Doesn't know how Best Buy works at all, so that's probably another part of the problem. So basically, I'm like, okay. So I was like, are you guys gonna make this right or not? And they don't. And it's still on their website listed a Blu-ray. They didn't offer, a discount or anything. And at this point, I don't want a discount. I just want them to, make it right or something, or let me exchange the DVD for something of equal or less value that's listed at. Because they screwed me out of the buy two, get one. They told me it was an exclusive Blu-ray when I asked, and they sent me a fucking DVD. And then on top of that, they wanted me to return the DVD, and they're like, "We'll send you the Blu-ray." And then I said, "Are you sure there's a Blu-ray?" And they said, "You know what? We checked, but no." And they checked again, and there wasn't. So nobody's doing their job over there. They're just like basically stumbling through this as fast as they can to get on to the next customer. So I essentially did all the legwork, and then they told me that. And then on top of that, they tell me to ask go to the website and ask them to fix it. And she doesn't even offer anything, doesn't offer any, fixing. And she even actually almost had me. She said, go return it. And I would have got absolutely nothing for it. I would have returned it and basically not gotten a refund because it was the free item. And you're not allowed to do the buy two, get ones. So they told me every which way to screw me completely. So the word of advice, don't buy the Golden Glove for Best Buy Blu-ray because it's not a Blu-ray. In fact, probably don't even buy from Best Buy if you can help it. They're a really shitty company that doesn't offer to fix any of their mistakes. And I'm actually done buying from Best Buy. I know I have some pre-orders that are coming through in the buy two. And after that's done, I'm done. I don't care if it's a little bit more on the Target buy two, get one. I'll go to Target. I'll go to Amazon. I know. I'll Diabolic, Grindhouse, anywhere but Best Buy. And that's what I get for buying from a giant, shitty company like Best Buy in the first place that is garbage at what they do and has always been garbage at what they do. But hey, sometimes money, you see a deal and you want it. But regardless, bottom line, fuck Best Buy and fuck ordering from them, and let them know they suck if you want. But again, rant over. A big waste of your time. I'm sorry, but it annoyed me. So yeah, I have this DVD. I'm probably going to import the Blu-ray. I really was looking forward to this movie, and I thought, wow, cool, there's a Best Buy Blu-ray exclusive, which I should have known better. That's like, what's next? August Underground Steelbook from Best Buy? So not likely. But okay, let's hop into the reviews. I've wasted enough of your time being a baby. And the first review is from Severin Films from 1967 Russia. This is Vi, or some people say V. I have actually seen this one before. Really strange movie. Like I said, from 1967. Very unique. I'm not sure what century this takes place in, but my historical timelines are all screwed up. But it's very much in the past during kind of superstitious times in Russia. We follow these three people from a seminary school, and they have a big break. They're very obnoxious, kind of, and they're basically wandering the countryside on their break, and they need a place to sleep. They want food, they want booze, the typical stuff that young men want when they're wandering. So they find this area where this old lady invites them in. Eventually, she says, you can stay here, but you all have to sleep in different areas. She separates them, and at night, the old lady visits the main character in here in the barn, the stable. And she seems like she wants to somewhat seduce him. She goes outside with him. They latch onto each other. He doesn't want anything to do with it. She starts to fly him. So she's kind of a witch. He freaks out. Some really cool special effects. They kind of crash land, and he beats her with an inch of her life. And before she dies, she turns into a young, beautiful woman, very pale. So there's definitely some sort of witch thing going on. He returns to the seminary school without telling anyone, and he's all of a sudden summoned to go to this small town where this guy kind of has power, and his daughter is dying and sick, and she wants this priest to pray for her. This young man to pray for, not really a priest, but you know what I mean, a practicing, religious figure, to pray for her for 3 days. So he gets there and she's died, and there's really superstition around the town that she had special powers. Every night he got to go in this, this church, and it's the woman that he attacked, of course, and pray for her. But he puts himself in a circle because she has crazy powers, and every night these crazy supernatural things happen until they escalate over time. And the last night, Vi is supposed to show up, and he's this big kind of lumbering golem character. So that's basically the setup and the plot of the movie. What makes it unique is that it feels ahead of its time, 67, and also they mention in the special features, which is really damn cool in here, that they mention that Russia and America were pretty much separating over the space race in the 60s, and when film was rising, they didn't learn how to do the same techniques the same way. So there's a lot of weird camera techniques and camera tricks and stuff like that, a lot of using reverse and things like that really works, really creepy, really effective. And this one's really creepy and feels kind of otherworldly for sure. Very enjoyable, very good effects, especially for the late 60s. It's way ahead of its time. The color looks great. It's shot really nice. I think it's a full screen movie, but very impressive. And like I said, the monsters are really great. The characters are real quirky and weird, and the superstition is in full. I think this movie is actually kind of like a precursor to a lot of stuff that's very popular now, like The Witch and stuff like that. I really dig this one. Like I said, this is the second time I've seen it, and there are some slow parts here and there, but it's not an overly long movie or anything like that. V is a very unique creature and monster, and I'd never really quite seen anything like him. But the stuff they do when the monsters come, like they'll have them crawling on the walls, which they basically, you know, flip the camera or flip the set or whatever, and they're like crawling on the walls and stuff, is really cool. And then they'll do reverse camera work and stuff where they'll reverse the frames and they'll go backwards, and they look creepy, like ghouls and everything. It almost reminds me of stuff like the Sentinel at the end of the Sentinel, when all those people come out and stuff like that, or the demons or whatever, or the you know, the people with deformities and stuff like that. It reminds me of that a little bit, the creatures. But V is really cool, and he has a rich history, which Richard Stanley's on the disc to discuss. You know, director Richard Stanley, Hardware, Dust Devil, The Color Out of Space, upcoming. So he talks about what V is and where he possibly came from, you know, the mythological stuff or where he was created, and he stems it all the way back to being like this whole vampire mythology and everything like that. Very interesting. This guy is very well read on the occult stuff and this kind of stuff like this, and knows a lot of different countries' histories and everything like that. Very interesting. Also, there is a little doc on here about the history of Soviet horror. Also very interesting, goes into the silent era and all sorts of movies and dives into it. And there's also 3 Soviet silent films on the disc as well. Looks great, sounds great, very nice release from Severn Films, and a very underappreciated movie. Like, I think this is kind of a semi-classic for the people that have seen it, but I do think that it should kind of be like almost infamous. Oh, not even infamous, but it should be very popular. It's a very good movie and very cool and very trend-setting for as far as I can tell. V or Vi.
Фильм по мотивам одноименной повести Николая Гоголя «Вий». Сценарий и постановка под руководством известного режиссера Александра Птушко. В фильме «Вий» Наталья Варлей и Леонид Куравлев.
Ведьма! Ей-богу, ведьма!
Name from out of the past that rings like the shrill cry of a bird in the dark. A name that very few people in the West still remember and know to fear as they should.
A lot of his early stories are fantastic stories, and so he became a great source for these films.
Okay, the next one needs no introduction, but I'm going to give it one anyways. This is Lucio Fulci's House by the Cemetery. Yes, the new Blue Underground 3-disc. 2 Blu-rays and a CD. Okay, Lucio Fulci's one of my all-time favorites, and House by the Cemetery is in his top 5 films. This is a great movie. It's right in his heyday when he was making all those 80s, early 80s horror movies, the gory stuff. It was on the Video Nasties list. The history is rich with one. It has Katrina McCall in here, so, from The Beyond and City of the Living Dead. And these movies kind of fit somewhat in a trilogy. Some people call it the Gates of Hell trilogy, although I never really considered House by the Cemetery Gates of Hell trilogy. It's more like a Lovecraftian. All 3 of those are Lovecraftian, but I don't feel like it is in that series because, Beyond and City of the Living Dead, the Gates of Hell actually do open, and this one is just kind of something in the fucking basement deal. It's a little bit more than that, but I guess, this is when Fulci was in his heyday, and like a lot of great directors, they're just as good as their crews and stuff like that, and I think Fulci does suffer from that a little bit. He has his writer here, Sacchietti, I believe, and his cinematographer, Stalvoletti, and, his producer. So a lot of these people that you would see reoccurring. A wonderful score by Walter Rizzati, I believe is his name. Always gets stuck in your head. Has, the nightmare logic and the nightmare kind of focus on it with a lot of fog and stuff, so it makes a lot of it soft focus. Okay, the plot of this film is kind of crazy and bizarre, and it definitely inspired a lot of things like that. And first I want to say this about this movie. I love this thing, okay? I love a lot of Fulci stuff from this time. But it's so pleasant for me to see movies like this inspire popular horror movies. Back in the day, a lot of these kind of like Fulci movies were shit on, and they were like, people hated them. But now the people that grew up loving these are making movies, and you know what? The movies they're making are appreciated, and they're kind of almost put in a high elevated horror level. I think, like, maybe We Are Still Here could kind of be considered elevated. I think it's a very well-made horror movie. So I'm like seeing that, and I'm like, that's so great that these movies that were considered shellac when they came out have inspired the best horror movies like 30, 40 years later. And that's really cool. And so in a way, Fulci is getting the recognition he deserved and always had. And a lot of these guys are. So I know a lot of people did like Fulci when he initially came out as well. So, it's not just, he's rediscovered or anything like that. So the plot of this one is we have this kind of guy who writes for a paper, and he is hired to go to this town in Boston, this kind of like isolated little town. Seems to like to have a little town, and do some history research there. The guy who was doing it before him went nuts and killed his mistress that he was cheating on his wife with, and himself. So he goes there and he starts, he takes his family with him. Bob, of course, his son, who's poorly dubbed and become infamous because of it, and his wife, McCall. So they go there, and right off the bat, when he goes into the office, Dagmar is in here, Lassiter. She's in a bunch of stuff. She recognizes him and says, well, you know where the house is. You've been here before. And he says, no, I haven't. So we have this like kind of like circular, almost like fate kind of timeline going on. Not to mention that the little boy is staring at a painting before he leaves in New York, and he sees the house, and he sees this girl in the window who basically appears later in the story as his imaginary friend. So we have all this weird stuff going on like that, where it's almost like fate, where they've been drawn here from the painting possibly, or it's like a premonition to warn them not to go to this house, but they must go to this house. Very gothic, I think, in a lot of ways, and I love that. And it works, and even though it's nonsensical, I wouldn't call it nonsense, I would call it nightmare logic. And a lot of people, like Troy Howarth on the commentary says, a lot of people call shit nightmare logic, it just doesn't make any sense, but I do, or maybe it's Stephen Thrower on here. This is actually nightmare logic, and I agree with that. So, the idea that you see somebody in a painting tell you not to go there, like in the movie Crimson Peak, which is a super gothic movie, where she's visited by the ghost of her mother, who says, beware of Crimson Peak, in the very beginning, and then later on, she finds out that she's married this man, and he lives at Crimson Peak, but she's already there, and it's too late, but she's has been warned, and that's just the scary kind of premonition shit, and I think House by the Cemetery has some of that, and they do it wonderfully. So, essentially, they move into this house, and mysterious things start happening almost right away. There's a tomb under the ground, the basement's locked, and there's a weird maid who comes to help, who's really strange character, doesn't make much sense why she's there, and very mysterious. The Fulci kind of mysterious, where we stop 5 minutes and look at each other, and there's close-ups of our eyes, and you're like, what's going on? There's something between those two, but I don't know. One of them is guilty of something. Very Fulci-like, like in The Beyond, when Joe the plumber and I think it's his wife stare at each other, and they're like, they're just looking at each other for like 5 minutes. Like, what the fuck is going on between these two? But it's like that here too. It's a very big Fulci-ism with the eyes. I love it. So basically all that. And what's in the basement, I don't want to spoil, it's right on the cover, is Dr. Frunstein, which is a very Lovecraftian character, reanimator, Frankenstein type deal, where he is this scientist who passed away, or not passed away, but he's been like living off weird experiments and shit like that. Kind of reminds me of something like Dr. Satan in A House of a Thousand Corpses. So there's that, and there's also the idea that this journalist starts to dig into what his predecessor was looking into and realizes that he got obsessed with Freudstein, so he becomes obsessed with Freudstein. And again, this whole town seems really kind of almost something's wrong but clueless at the same time, like a Stephen King kind of dairy thing going on. So there's so many cool elements into this movie. And did I mention that it's gory as hell? When the people die, it's disgusting. I feel bad for them. It's drawn out. It's very Argento in a way, like he has these elaborate deaths in here. And I think this is like when Fulci was doing these, like at that time period, his deaths were always elaborate like that. But even in like earlier stuff like Don't Torture a Duckling, they were elaborate and depressing, and they're disgusting here. But I love the design of the monster. I love the crazy ending that's really weird, where it does some sort of time loop thing. The music's top notch. It's a brisk like hour and 25 minutes. I just love this damn thing. Weird premonitions, I guess it's a ghost story in a lot of ways, but it's also scientific kind of horror at the same time. Excellent movie. It looks great. Blue Underground did a great job with it, and they've recorded a new commentary on here with Troy Howarth, who does a really good job here discussing, Fulci's career and his interactions with other people. And then there's a bunch of stuff ported over from the old disc. It's like a whole Blu-ray filled. So the stuff that stuck out to me was the interviews with Katrina McCall, like a Q&A, which I love seeing because they ask her how she interprets the endings, and she talks about how she worked with Fulci and stuff like that. Then we have something on here with Stephen Thrower, who dives into it. Love his input. So it's a great disc. Not to mention there's interviews with pretty much everybody involved. Giannotti De Rossi, the special effects guy, or supposed special effects guy. Long story. So all sorts of interviews on here, from actors to the kids are interviewed as adults. So great release from Blue Underground. Cool lenticular cover. Excellent movie. One of my favorites. What am I gonna say? And it's not one I revisit as much as Zombie or The Beyond. So it was super great to revisit this one. Highly recommended. House by the Cemetery. Love it. And you should love it too, Fulci.
Stephen, where are you? Please answer me. Steve!
In this house, what you don't know will hurt you. It was to be a getaway dream. It's becoming a runaway nightmare.
Do you see anything?
Some old steps going down.
He has been awaiting the arrival of his new guests. One by one, they are disappearing. One by bloody one.
No! No!
When you move to this house, before you get locked in,
There's someone in here,
read
Mommy!
the fine print.
Mommy, hurry!
You may have just
Get me!
mortgaged your life. Due to the graphic nature of this film, no one under 18 will be admitted. House by the cemetery.
Okay, here we go. One from Arrow Video, and this is Edge of the Axe by Jose Larraz, who they released a box set earlier, in 2019. Great box set, had 3 titles on there: Coming of Sand, Vampires, and what was the other one? Whirlpool. All pretty cool movies, especially Whirlpool and Vampires. So yeah, Edge of the Axe. This is kind of in his later career. He was a Spanish director and a really underrated director. He's very capable and did pretty much all solid movies. I never seen anything by him, and I was like, this is junk. Pretty much all solid films. This one I had seen years ago on a bootleg, Edge of the Axe, and I always remembered it. It always stuck in my head. And you know, the number one thing that stuck with me was the computer technology in here. This is late 80s movies. Remember computers in the late 80s films? It was always ridiculous. Always not. It never worked like that. You always watch like, that's not how fucking computers work. But hey, it was a movie, so you didn't really care. Even The Thing does it where you're like, that's not how computers work. But whatever. So Edge of the Axe. Right, this film opens up with a great kill in a car wash. I think that a lot of people will remember that. Very stylized kill. And first and foremost, I gotta say, Arrow did an amazing job on this transfer. It looks so good, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? This looks better than some of the 4K movies I've seen. So excellent, excellent work by Arrow remastering this damn thing. So the plot is there's a slasher going around with a white mask. It's kind of like a Jason mask, but not really. And he's hacking them up with an axe. So introduce the kind of main characters who are this technological kind of dorky guy who loves computers. And he's kind of living in this small little, I think it's Arizona town or whatever, kind of like fishing area. Maybe it's not Arizona with a fishing area, but I think the plates and stuff said Arizona. It's weird. It feels like the Southwest, but there's like a whole lake and everything. So I'm not sure where I can pinpoint this area. So I'm not. Don't quote me on that. Maybe it looks something more like Wisconsin. So I'm not 100% sure where the hell it is. So maybe it's California. So basically what happens is he kind of meets a girl who works at this local kind of fishing place for her father, and they start a relationship. And of course, you know, the main suspect is the boy. He's very mysterious. He's very weird. And him and the girl always talking on the computer while more and more people are getting killed by an axe murderer. So, and of course, do the murders have any correlation? Possibly. This movie has one of the worst cops ever. You know, he's that type that doesn't want to deal with what's happening. So he's like, she must have killed herself. It's like, what? What are you talking about? He tries to put it off as long as he possibly can. There's some really great, you know, kills in here and murders. It's not too gratuitous or anything, but they are very effective kills. And they set up suspense well, you know. Well, they'll set up different locations and characters running from, you know, the axe murderer. And is there any better weapon in a horror movie than an axe? I think not. Axes are terrifying, and they're very, very effective, to be honest. So the end here, they kind of point to one thing or another thing. Well, basically they point to one thing, and you're like, is it going to be this? Are they going to go for it? Or are they going to do something different? And I'll leave that up to you what they decided to do. I did like some of the psychology in the character and whatnot, and the performances are pretty solid all around. There's some beautiful cinematography. It's very well shot, very well made, and the stuff on the boat looks great, especially in the background, the trees, the water, the kind of mountainous landscape. So I really dig what they did with the camera work. Like Jose Larraz, he's a very capable filmmaker. Some of the dialogue sometimes seems a little clunky, but the performances aren't terrible. They're pretty solid, to be honest. And all in all, it's a solid slasher movie that's underseen and well worth your time. There's two commentaries on here, two with one with the two of the actors and one with Hysteria Continues, which is a cool slasher podcast. Like 4 or 5 guys talk about slasher films. Listen to some of that. They did a pretty good job. And then there's interviews with some of the actors in the film. The lead talks about it quite a bit. And then who else is in here? I'm going to cheat a little bit. Like I said, there was a couple in here. Yeah, they had 2 of the male actors, and then they had one with the special effects artist who talks about making the axes. And he doesn't recall all that much, but you know, some of this was shot in Spain too. Yeah, there we go. I forgot about that. So yeah, anyways, cool movie, nice release by Arrow Video. It looks great and sounds great, way better than I ever expected. And I'm happy to see this. I know that some of his more, you know, newer like 80s films are coming out as well from Arrow, and I look forward to checking them out.
Six women, 1 man, all dead. Edge of the Axe. Gerald's a cool kid with a keen computer. Now that he's met Lillian, the lines of communication are definitely open.
It's called Icarus. You can ask it anything you like.
But the readout spells trouble.
Wait a minute, what happened here?
And murder is the mode.
What shape is that body? Hamburger meat.
A killer is loose, and the whole town's on edge. Edge of the Axe.
Gerald, why do you have the names of all the women who were killed in your computer file?
Ooh, she's coming this way. Bodacious Tata. Daughter, did you have a little something going on with Rita? Rita had your name and number in her phone book.
I'm kind of worried a little bit about it. They found another body this morning. There's some maniac. He's running around chopping women up.
Laura's disappeared.
What do you mean?
She's gone. Who's Charlie?
He's my cousin. The other night I asked my computer to check the hospitals to find my cousin. And they released him from a mental hospital 2 years ago in Patterson.
You're spending too much time with this girl on those stupid games that you play. You know, you're gonna get in trouble and you're gonna have microchips for brains.
Almost all the women who had been killed, they had worked in a psychiatric ward. Christopher?
The situation is terminal. Can Lillian deprogram the killer before he catches his next victim?
Well, now you got 2 more, Doc. I tell you, this place stinks of death.
The other night I had a dream, and Charlie was walking towards me smiling. He was carrying a blood-stained axe. And he said he was going to kill me. Charlie, is that you?
Edge of the Axe. It's a great night for bad dreams.
Okay, we have another one from Arrow Academy, and this is Black Angel from 1946. You know, another kind of film noir. And the plot of this one is as follows. Right in the beginning, they kind of set it up where you're not really sure exactly what happens, but we have this girl who seems to be kind of like, you know, a starlet. She's not very nice. She's kind of mean. And a man wants to go visit her husband or ex-husband or whatever, and he's pushed away. Shortly after that, she is murdered, and somebody is caught in her room, and you're not sure if he did it. You're not sure if Peter Lorre did it, who showed up earlier that day, or the husband did it. So you're like, okay. The guy who was in the room gets blamed for it, and it turns out that he has a wife. So the police visit him and everything like that. The wife is determined that her husband didn't do it. Trust her husband that he wasn't cheating on her, but he was being blackmailed by the murder victim. So essentially what we have here is kind of a mystery, and it's unique that the wife turns out to start working with the husband or the ex-husband of the murdered woman. And he's a drunk, and he's just down on his luck, and he's kind of miserable, and they start to work together to decide to solve this case. Who did it? They look towards Peter Lorre, who runs this nightclub, who's a very intimidating, scary bad guy. And I really liked how he acted in here. He doesn't have to be over the top and scream to be intimidating. His body movements, his posture, the way he smokes a cigarette, you're like, yes, this guy is great. And I've seen him in some movies, especially what's the one where he's drinking wine with Vincent Price. He died shortly after that movie. He's excellent in that. So he's kind of a classic actor from M and everything like that. But he's really a highlight of this movie. Loved seeing him in here. So you basically all eyes point to that. And you know what I really liked about this movie? That I was like, this could go really lighthearted, that this could go really, really dark. And it doesn't do either of those. It goes kind of darker than I expected. And I really was kind of surprised they went there for 1946. I thought that the elements there were kind of surprising. To be honest, and I like the psychology. They dig into psychology. But what happens is the husband, the ex-husband of the murder victim, and the wife of the suspected team up. And like I said, they start to form a relationship. They go undercover as a performing duo, piano and singing, and under Peter Lorre's bar, and they start to dig deeper and everything like that. And I don't want to spoil anything because really the reveal, you watch this movie to figure out exactly what's going to happen. And they do some nice hints with where they're all looking for this like rose kind of brooch, and whoever has that, it's kind of the key to what happened in the murder. So this could go a few ways, and you really don't know which way it's going to go. And when they go the way they do, you're like, oh wow, it's kind of dark, but there's still suspense after that. So very well made, very well acted. Enjoyed it quite a lot, actually. The music in here is really good, and there is an interview with kind of an expert on it as well. I really like this one. Black Angel, cool film noir. Okay, here we go. That's right, guys. Tammy and the T-Rex. 4K from Vinegar Syndrome. What world is it where we have a 4K of Tammy and the T-Rex, the gore cut? I've heard about this movie for years. Dustin actually had seen this as a kid on television. He said, it's awful. But he saw like the regular cut. He's like, I don't understand this movie, who it's made for. This is before we realized there was a gore cut. Tammy and the T-Rex. by the director of Mac and Me. Okay, this is a really weird, crazy movie made in the early 90s, I believe, starring Paul Walker, Denise Richards, who else is in here? Sean Whalen, Teddy Kaiser. Yeah, boy, oh boy. I don't know how to go about this movie. It also has the kid from Children of the Corn in here, Isaac. All right, here we go. You know, the 90s is really weird, really ridiculous. I grew up there. I feel like I am definitely a product of ridiculous. So, Tammy and the T-Rex follows the story of an evil scientist played by Teddy Kaiser who has designed this giant mechanical T-Rex. He's run on a computer system. Teddy Kaiser's not happy with that. He wants to pull a Frankenstein kind of story and put the brain in the T-Rex. He wants to kind of wipe the brain, put it in there, and have the dinosaur be kind of maybe used in military, whatever. You really don't know. Meanwhile, Paul Walker and Denise Richards are high school students. They're kind of in love, but her mean ex-boyfriend won't let them get together. He's a real big piece of crap, and he runs this cheesy gang with Sean Whalen in it. And one night they attack them and leave him in some sort of animal kind of big cat captivity place or whatever. And Safari, he's attacked. He's put in the hospital. Teddy Kaiser comes in and preys on him and takes his brain and puts it in the T-Rex. But he's still in love with Denise Richards. But he wants his revenge on the scientist and the gang that took him away from his girlfriend. So we have really funny moments of Denise Richards being very, lovey-dovey with this giant semi-animatronic dinosaur with these little hands like this. It's really funny, really bizarre. Now, here's a moment where people would say, I can't believe this director has no clue what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. Nobody makes a movie like this. And the special features of some of the actors, the guy who plays the bully, or the gang leader, says, I think like the script originally was really dark and kind of horror oriented, but the director, he got a hold of it and he looked at it and he's like, man, nobody's going to buy this without some comedy. So he added a layer of comedy. And it's not one of those things like, look how stupid we are, kind of like, Sharknado or something like that. They're trying, and they play it straight as they can. Like when Denise Richards and the dinosaur are together, she's playing it straight. She's pouring her heart out. It gets emotional. Oh, did I mention Buck Flowers in this movie? Gotta mention Buck Flower. Goddamn Buck Flower. Love Buck Flower. He's in here. He plays a cop, and his partner is actually somebody. Stephen Carpenter is his name, who plays Doc, the camera Cenobite in Hellraiser 3, which is really funny. So they're cops in here, really very kind of goofy cops who are pretty much bigots and stop themselves from saying real awful shit at one point. But yeah, so for the most part, they play it as straight as they can, even during the most ridiculous scenes when they have a groin off, where they grab each other's junk and just yell. Really weird stuff here. There's gore. It's cheesy and cheap looking, but it's effective. People get stepped on. People get their, heads bitten off. And that really adds a layer to it that's very funny. There's language in here. The original version had all the language cut out. There's cussing, there's language. So it's aware of how weird and stupid it is. But when you cut out the gore and you cut out the language, it just kind of loses its purpose, I would imagine. I did not watch the original cut. Did not have time for that. But all in all, it had some really funny moments. Teddy Kaiser's great in it. He's always pretty good, even in like stupid shit like Pet Shop when he shows up. The guy played a dead body in like 2 movies. So what do you want? He's good. He can handle his own in anything ridiculous. But I enjoyed it for the most part. It's very goofy, very fun, and just You know, it looks cheap. I mean, it was shot on film, 35, I believe. But there's some nice, beautiful shots in here as well when she's riding on the dinosaur. You learn that it's so beautiful because California was burning down at the time. And the background is basically just like flames and stuff. Like the sky is basically like smoke and everything like that. So there's lots of great stories on the disc. The director talks about it. And he actually worked with, he was one of those guys who did the animal, you know, basically Wrangler so on movies. So that's why the big cats are in there. He knew what he was doing and everything like that. People might like to think that he was just like, oh, this is like a, you know, what am I thinking? Like a Room scenario. And it's not that, you know. It's definitely a product of its time. And a lot of movies were made like that in its time, you know. And then there's also an interview with Denise Richards, which was very surprising. He actually she actually, seems very nice and approaches it. She's not too proud, not too stuck up. She's just basically, I'm proud of the movie. Well, I did it, and at the time it was a stepping stone, whatever. She's real genuine seeming, and I like seeing that. Still gorgeous. And then we have Sean Whalen, who seems like a really cool guy. He's been in, stuff like People Under the Stairs, and talks about the movie and talks about being on set. And then we have an interview with the main gang member as well. So it's a nice little, thing on here. A nice, set of special features and everything. I did think the movie looked a little dark, but I think that's just budget constraints, kind of a cheaper movie. But I can't believe it's on 4K and everything like that. Kind of blew my mind. But, it has some memorable music as well. Just fun, cheesy 90s stuff with, it's like a warped kids movie with language and gore. So I enjoyed the hell out of it. Tammy and the T-Rex.
He's still alive.
What are you talking about?
Michael! Michael's brain is inside of the dinosaur.
I'm a dinosaur man, a prehistoric dude, king of the jungle, coming after you. I'm a T-Rex on the prowl, a reptile on the move. Better watch your step, I'm coming after you. Dinosaur music inside my brain. Sometimes I feel like I'm going insane. I feel the rumble, I feel the roar. Dance to the music of the dinosaur.
Stupidest idea I've ever heard of.
Okay, the next one here is from Vinegar Syndrome as well. This is Beware My Brethren. And I ordered this and I had no clue what it was. And then I saw its alternate title, The Fiend. And I was like, or Fiend. And I was like, I know that. I've seen that title before. This movie stars Patrick Macnee, who's the guy I recognize most from it. You guys know him from A Clockwork Orange and Tale from the Crypt and some Jess Franco movies, of course. So, okay, here we go. And The Black Cat by Fulci. So, Beware My Brethren. This is an early 70s film that I was not that familiar with. And the opening of this movie blew me away. Unfortunately, I can't live up to that opening ever again, but it was just a wonderful scene. It was such a good moment. We have this kind of evangelical or very kind of crazy church, and they're, baptizing a young child, and they're singing this beautiful song, and it's kind of twisted and demented gospel music, and it's cutting back and forth between a kind of a stalker chasing this woman, and while they're baptizing the child, he's drowning her and killing her and leaving her in the water, and it's just this great parallel back and forth and sets up the whole movie. Patrick Macnee is the preacher, and there's like all these people, crazy people screaming and everything in the church. It's probably one of the best setups and openings in a movie, a horror film that I've seen, and it's just beautiful music. I love the music. It's like gospel folky stuff. Dig the hell out of that. There's a few numbers in here. Love that stuff. So what we have here is kind of a psycho story. We have this night watchman who doesn't seem quite right. He is the son of the piano player in the church, a very weird woman who's hiding that she's diabetic from the church because it's a church that doesn't believe in medicine. Her life is the church. She worships the church. She, loves her son, though. She'll defend her son to the end, of course. Meanwhile, we have this nurse who has to go in home and take care of the mother and give her insulin and all that kind of thing. And she has a journalist sister who is interested in looking into the church and writing a story about them and kind of exposing their hypocrisy and everything like that, how they don't believe in the medicine, how they're kind of a scam kind of deal. But there's also these weird kind of elements of, the son who, it doesn't really leave much guessing who the killer is, but of the son who likes to record his murders and then play over these tapes, these, kind of sermons that the group listen to, who their ultimate master is. And then also I think the music, and he plays them all together, and it's kind of this weird amalgamation of all the things that he's obsessed with and everything like that. So yeah, really crazy stuff going on. There's a lot of nudity in here. I did not expect to see that, and I guess a lot of that was cut for the UK or US release or something like that. It was cut over time. But right in the opening, we have this naked woman floating in the river, like I said, and I was like, wow. So there's a lot of nudity and kind of sleaze in here as well, and you feel bad for the victims. It's, again, like I said, I always feel bad when they kill prostitutes. It's just like, because people just like, in the movies, you feel like they go out and they're like easy pickings, no one will care, and you're just like, I kind of care. That's kind of mean. That's horrible. So, it always, that's kind of deal going on. But the end, it's weird because your allegiances, you're like, you start to side with people you shouldn't side with, and at the end, the ultimate villain is kind of the church in here. So it opens up a lot of questions and stuff like that, and it's a good, I guess, proto-slasher, heavily inspired by, Norman Bates kind of stuff, and most, like I said, after 1960, almost all these horror movies were, from Killer of Dolls to everything. I can't think, almost everything was, and for good reason, because Psycho's the best, one of the best, hands down. So I was really impressed with this one. Thought it was really kind of a aggressive horror for a British film from the time. So good stuff. Liked it a lot. Beware My Brethren or Fiend.
Beware, my brethren. The fruitful place was a wilderness, and all the cities thereof were broken.
Dear God, thank you for today. We have sinned. Please forgive us, God. We have
sinned. She will be reborn, Mother. Pure in soul and spirit, won't she, Mother?
Kenny, you must never let them tempt you. They'll try and make you have sex.
Mentally sick, the pair of them. They've been brainwashed by that church of theirs. You should know. You're their doctor.
She has the right to worship any way she pleases. I don't like Bible banging any more than you do, but you've got to get it into that stubborn little head of yours. There's nothing you nor I can do about it.
You're all I needed. Some nutcase bloody Bible thumper.
You'll perish. The day of retribution is at hand.
He was nailed to the cross, and the wounds he suffered all for me. He was nailed to the cross, and I tremble at the loss. Let his love follow me, let his love follow me. Oh, wash me in his blood, wash me in his blood, let his blood flow over me. Oh, wash me in his blood, wash me in his blood, wash me in his blood till I am free.
This is different. It's so sick. Something ought to be done about those crank religions.
I have sinned, and I must atone for my sin through all eternity.
Okay, here we go. One from Scorpion MGM release. Scorpion been putting out some MGM titles. This is Deep Space by Fred Olen Ray. This looks like a big budget movie for Fred Olen Ray. It's got Charles Napier in here and Charles Napier, but it's got some other people too. Okay, this one was made, I think, in the late 80s, early 90s. Charles Napier plays kind of extreme cop. Think, like Mel Gibson or something in A Lethal Weapon. Him and his partner are kind of loose cannons, I guess is the term they'd use back in the day. Do they even use the term loose cannons anymore for cops? Like in movies, there was always those loose cannon cops like, God damn it, Murdoch, you're driving me crazy. Like that's basically like a whole subgenre on its own is loose cannon police officers. So, Dirty Harry, everything. So essentially these two loose cannon cops in the very beginning, they kill a couple kids in a robbery. They shoot at them and everything like that. You learn that, Bo Svenson's the chief in here. I can't believe I forgot him from Night Warning and tons of other movies. So basically, they're kind of good cops, but a little bit rugged on the rough on the edges kind of police officers. Something crashes, very typical storyline of in space movies, it came from space kind of deal, where something crash lands in this small town that they're in, and nobody really knows what it is. Some stupid kids and a bum go to look. Immediately reminded me of the Blob with the bum looking and the kids and everything like that. And the kids are kind of attacked by whatever this weird thing is. We keep cutting back to like this military program that somehow had this thing in space, and they knew what it was, and they were keeping it on ice, and it crash landed on accident, and they're told to destroy it. Of course, one of the scientists does not destroy it. He doesn't want to waste the money, and this thing is kind of spawning off eggs and everything like that, and they look like hard exterior rocks, and these weird tentacles come out and they eat the kids. So these kind of hard rocks get taken in. The cops take a couple of the smaller ones to hide and not tell anyone about it, and the big one goes back to the police station, and overnight it kind of opens up and kills the examiner, and that pretty much opens up the story. Or opens up these cops to investigate. Bo Svensson gets orders from higher ups not to look into it, but the loose cannons ain't gonna listen. So essentially what we have here is a monster alien kind of run amok story where it's going around town attacking people, and it's up to Charles Napier to stop it, and his love interest in the film. Also a really stupid psychic thing where a woman keeps calling him and be like, I know where the monster is. Maybe it's a really, lazy kind of script writing mechanism to get them to find the monster without doing police work or padding the time or just cut to the chase. I don't know. It's stupid, and it's a very thing that pops up in lots of movies, the psychic element, and it's just like, why? We already got alien stuff and scientific mad stuff. Why the psychic stuff too? So, he basically goes looking for these monsters, and then with we got the one big one, and then we got these two small ones, which are like kind of cool cockroach, deadly spawn kind of style things. And in fact, one time when the thing goes up on the shadow, I swore they used the deadly spawn puppet to see the shadow. Love deadly spawn if you guys don't know that. So, the effects are cool. I like the monster effects. The gore effects are solid. Charles Napier's okay in it. The acting's okay. I love Bo Svensson. There's a nice standoff against the monster, and when they deliver the gore effects, they're cool. I wish, this movie had a bigger budget. It would be even better. The only thing that really holds us back is the stupid psychic subplot and the limited budget. Besides that, it's a very entertaining movie. It's very, good standard sci-fi horror that we don't really get that much anymore. Monster of the week type deal shit. I like this kind of stuff. Monster run amok in a small town, up to some people to stop it. The Bean, all sorts of stuff. Deadly Spawn. I dig that subgenre. What's that ridiculous one by Don Doler? Night Beast. So, it fits in that kind of category, but it's good. It's entertaining. It looks really good. And, it sounds all right, too. I don't think there was subtitles, if I don't remember correctly. Not really many features on here, just some trailers, but I'm happy to have it. And, probably the biggest budgeted movie Fred Ray ever had. Let me know. Get back at me. I know he did stuff like... Did he do Scalps? I know he did Alien. Alien Dead. So, yeah.
Look!
Did you see that?
Like a bolt of lightning, it fell from the sky.
It's crashed. And it's alive. Status. Still dormant, but approaching an active level rapidly.
A top-secret experiment the military's desperate to hide.
Maybe there's something inside. What's wrong? Project. It's waking up. Stop it. I can't.
Designed to kill.
But not innocent people. I want you to cordon off that area. I don't want anybody getting through it.
Smells like the old government cover-up.
It's been ruled an accident.
An accident?
They're off the case.
Now it's multiplying one by one.
We're on to something big, Jerry. I mean big.
Where is the thing? We gotta find it.
Jesus Christ. Jerry took one of those pods home with him.
Unleashing its deadly terror on everyone and everything that stands in its path.
Jesus Christ, what the hell is that?
To stop the madness, they must risk it all.
Going monster hunting. It's bad news.
Can anything on Earth destroy this deadly invasion? It's time to face your deepest fears. From deep space.
Okay, this next one here is from 1984, and this is The Power. This is by a pair of directors that did a couple movies I'm familiar with. Dorm That Drip Blood, the slasher movie, which I remember being all right. I know Synapse put out a Blu-ray. And The Kindred, which I absolutely really love. Red Steiger, monster in a jar kind of deal. Always loved that one. So I was like, okay, we got two. One I love, one I think's okay. So I put in The Power, and oh boy, man. What a snooze fest. I'm sorry, I'm going to be very quick with this one because I don't like to be negative. But Christopher Young does a score. It's early on in his career after Dormant Drip Blood. Turns into a magnificent... I really like the score. I think it's great. Christopher Young did Hellraiser and stuff. And he's one of the most underrated, composers, American horror composers there is, or composers in general. There's a lot of good work. I think his stuff has a great sound to it, and it's way better than this movie deserves. We have this idol that everyone's obsessed with. This idol basically can give you power. It's evil, whatever. So we have this professor who has the idol, and he's talking about it. The opening's actually really cool. The professor's talking about the idol. Somebody raises their hand and says, this is bullshit, makes fun of it. And then all of a sudden they get a nosebleed and they leave. And there's this weird kind of gross guy looking in the inside, like watching it all happen. And you realize it pans down, the professor has the idol, so he has the power. This weird guy kind of confronts the professor. They argue about the idol, yada, yada, yada. The weird guy leaves. Professor is killed. Idol disappears. Where'd it go? I don't know. Who cares? For some reason, this heavy guy, finds out that the idol is somewhere in like Arizona or New Mexico or some weird isolated desert area. Even though the idol was just there, I don't know. It's magical. Don't ask me. Maybe he didn't have it. I don't know what's going on. Really sloppy. So he goes to Arizona, whatever, steals the idol, kills some people, starts to melt. Cuts to a kid and his family. Now he has the idol. They decide to take this to some weird cemetery and do a black rites ritual for God knows what reason. And all hell breaks loose. The night janitor or whatever, the gravekeeper, whatever the hell he is, gets killed. They run to this newspaper that kind of studies occult things. They start to talk to them, try to get them involved to find out what happened. And one of the people in the newspaper, or the friend of the newspaper girl, becomes obsessed with the idol and becomes the crazy power guy. And that's essentially the plot, essentially the movie. There's so many boring moments in here that I can't remember what happens after that. He seems to have some sort of love for her, but after that I don't remember much. There's just a couple gore gags. There's the sloppy opening and the sloppy ending that try to tie it together. It just doesn't make much sense. It's really boring and really kind of inspired by Carrie with the telekinesis, because they do seem to have telekinetic powers, and it's a snooze fest. It's boring. It looks okay on Blu-ray. I don't think there is subtitles. I don't think there are many features on here, but I didn't love it. I'm going to be honest. I did not love this movie. I did not think it was particularly great. I kind of almost wanted to die while watching it. Not good. The weakest effort of those three for sure, the three films for sure. I know Synapse is putting out The Kindred, and I can't wait. But, The Power, a big letdown for me. And, people always be like, they made all the movies back in the... I used to say that too. I'd be like, most movies back in the day are watchable. And I don't think this one's that watchable. And it's one of the exceptions for me, so The Power.
It's all set. There's even a full moon tonight. This locket is to protect us from any evil that we may encounter. Tommy, what about you?
My parents brought it back from the trip. It's supposed to bring good luck.
We feel a presence here.
Come on, let's get out of here.
No, let's try again. I don't want to have anything to do with that.
Let's just keep this between you and me, okay?
Yeah, all right.
It's this relic or something. If these kids ran into it, I don't know what it's worth, Gary. You must know everything. I found something, and it's strange, and it's powerful. It's real.
I told you in the beginning that I didn't want to get involved.
You know, I remember a time when Sandy McKenna would have jumped at a story like this.
Not like this, Jerry. Believe me, I've chased down too many crackpot stories to get excited about this one.
Jerry, what are you doing? Jerry, no!
I have the power now.
Let me go. Help! Hurry up, come on!
You don't have any idea how real it is. I need you now more than I ever have. Give it to me! Give it to me!
Okay, this next one here is from Mill Creek Entertainment. It's a little late. I know it's past the holidays, but we got Santa with muscles. How cute. Okay, Hulk Hogan, man. I'm like a 90s kid, so yeah. I love watching Hulk Hogan grow up. No Holds Barred, WrestleMania, WWF. Yeah, that's right, WWF. I used to watch it, loved it, loved Hulk Hogan. So he kind of had a small run as an action star with No Holds Barred, Suburban Commando, some other things like that. So Santa with Muscles. I didn't know if I ever had seen this one or not, and while watching it, I don't think I had. It also has people like Garrett Morris from SNL and The Stuff, Don Stark from Evil Speak, and that 70s show. Who else pops up in here? Ed Begley Jr., Clint Howard, some other familiar faces as well. The dorky guy from Biodome's in here as a dorky guy. So there's other familiar faces. I can't think of the female lead. And there's a couple familiar faces, kids. One of the girls from that 70s show is in here. So that's crazy. I believe it's her. Mila Kunis? Yeah. So that's the Don Stark Kunis connection there for 70s show. Basically, we have this billionaire asshole played by Hulk Hogan. I can't think of his name. Blythe Thornton or something like that. So he has this line of products, whey protein, all sorts of things like that. He's an asshole. He goes paintballing one day and he catches the attention of some cops, led by Clint Howard. He's not the sheriff, he's just leading them for some whatever reason. And they chase him into a kind of this area in the mall. He dresses up as Mall Santa to hide. He hits his head in the garbage chute, and Don Stark, thinking he could take advantage of this billionaire because he spreads his wallet, thinks, you know what, I'm going to let this guy let him believe he's Santa Claus. So that's what happens, and Hulk Hogan gets caught up in helping up the helping an orphanage that he has ties to. Surprisingly, we figure that out. Well, Ed Begley wants to buy up, he's this weird germaphobe that wants to buy up all this surrounding area because he has a plan and there's something that he thinks he deserves, and I want to spoil it, there's something under the ground. He uses weird scientists, to bully everyone around, including like four of them, really. This one who knows karate, who's kind of like the snarky kind of asshole bad guy. One who is like a chemist and shoots fart smells on people, electric woman, and the archaeologist. So we got this weird array of goons, really cheesy, really kind of funny, and the movie is kind of cute at the same time. I'm not going to lie. It's not good, but it is entertaining, and I would put it on for my kids if I had them. I think they would enjoy it and I could get through it. Hulk Hogan's kind of charming, to be honest, especially in the beginning. I like him. He entertains me. I think he's funny. I know he has a lot of screen presence. He had so much charisma in wrestling. So it's there, and he does a good job. I'm not going to lie. As far as action stars are concerned, he's fine. There is some decent action in here for a kid's movie, let's be honest. It's not really particularly violent or anything like that, and it does have kind of a sweet message deep down inside. Somebody coming in here like, the worst movie ever. It's a kid's movie, guys. It's a freaking kid's movie, and I know you guys have been spoiled by the new kids' movies, but this is how a lot of the kids' movies were in the 90s. Pet Shop, Prehysteria, Santa with Muscles, Garbage Pail Kids. They were weird, and they were kind of stupid. So Santa with Muscles, it looks pretty good. They remastered it nice, and it has subtitles. That's all Mill Creek put on here, but I have no complaints. I actually enjoyed the damn thing. It's not good. Like, I tell you that. It's not good, but, I think if you had a daughter or a son, they could get some enjoyment out of it. You're tired of watching, the same Christmas movies 100 times, just slip in Santa with Muscles and see if they go for it.
In the season of Santa, there are two kinds of people. The naughty and the nice.
I got $50 for the first elf that brings me a Santa Claus.
Hulk Hogan is Blake Thorne, and he's definitely naughty. To make his getaway, he's going to make a mockery of the world's most beloved hero.
Do you have a minute?
Fox me, you little brat.
That's him.
But sometimes, the only way you can feel the spirit of Christmas...
Where'd he go?
...is to be hit over the head with it.
Santa! What? It's showtime.
Now, this confused bad boy is Santa, like you've never seen him before. A bearded basher of bad guys. Yeah! A hero with a silly hat. A Robin Hood in red.
Who are those guys anyway?
Oh, they work for Mr. Frost. He's been clearing out the whole neighborhood, and no one knows why.
And he's got 3 days to foil a band of evil scientists.
Assemble the team. We're taking the orphanage.
Wait till Santa hears about this. He'll kick your butt to New Year's.
Santa, you slay me.
Hulk Hogan is Santa with an attitude.
Keep the milk and cookies warm.
Santa with some friends.
See ya! Wouldn't want to be ya!
Santa with a mission.
How are we supposed to get over this?
And most of all, he's Santa with muscles.
They can't start Christmas without me. Can they?
There have been many Santas.
You're not Santa. You're better.
But there's only one named Hulk.
Well, all you had to do was knock.
Santa with muscles.
Okay, we got a couple quickies I watched streaming. The first is The Nightshifter. I watched this on Shudder. I told myself I was done with 2019 releases. Then I started hearing all these people's top 10s and everything. And I'm like, man, I missed some of these movies. How did I miss these? So I decided to watch The Nightshifter, South American horror movie. And this setup is great. This plot is great. I love this idea. And I've had similar ideas myself. Not quite like this. I don't want to be like, they stole my idea, because that's nonsense. And because I'm not doing anything with it, even if they did. So they can. Anyways, the plot of this film is we have this coroner, basically this guy, morgue attendant, who can talk to the dead. The dead talk to him. And so he's cutting them up and they're talking to him. He lives in, I think it's Brazil. So he's always dealing with, gang members and thugs and people like that. And they tell them how they died. So he starts to collect all this information about, the drug cartels and everything like that. And one night, one of the corpses that he gets in an argument with, it sounds ridiculous, right? Tells him that his wife is cheating on him. They definitely seem to have an unhappy marriage, but they have 2 kids and, whatever. It seems kind of really shaky. So he looks into it and he uses his knowledge to kind of set up that this man who's cheating with his wife will be killed. They do have a relationship. They do know each other. Not really get along either. So what happens is he does this and something tragic happens and he's cursed because of it. And what happens with that is everybody who's killed because of his, telling a dead man's, story, follows him. And they, somebody that he did wrong is haunting him and his family. And he starts to get involved with the guy who's guy he got killed's daughter starts to come over because she has nowhere to go, and she starts to be involved with the kids. The kids' lives are in danger. Lots of creepy things start to happen, and he starts to lose his grip on his sanity. His coworkers are worried about him, telling him he's nuts. Crazy things start happening. There's a really great, excellent moment when there's a mudslide in, and he has to take care of dozens and dozens of bodies, and it seems like they're almost punishing him on purpose, and they're all screaming and loud, and it reminds me of that scene in Cemetery Man when St. Francis of Death kind of pisses off Death, so he keeps bringing all the zombies back and they're all just going at his house. Reminds me of kind of a little bit of that, in a way that they're being, the supernatural element is trying to punish him to a certain extent. So I thought it was really unique and kind of dark and creepy, and the ending's really cool as well, and has some good stuff in here. I would compare this not necessarily to Terrified or Satan's Slave, but maybe in that same kind of boat as being a unique kind of ghost kind of story, with curses and everything like that. And I love the concept. This is a good movie. This is an interesting movie. It's shot well. It's acted well. It's creepy. Good horror film. Good horror film.
Eu falo com o morto. Só não sei explicar.
Que o hospital.
Que o fim da linha.
Então. É isso.
Acabou.
Pode estar aí tomando conta, mano. Estamos aqui expurgando, limpando. Vou fechar tudo.
O que foi? Tá olhando o quê?
Se você quer realmente me ajudar, tira a Cissa e o Edson daqui de casa por uns dias, por favor.
Puto caralho! Mais! Mais!
Olha que eu não sei, cara! Se vira, porra! Lógico. Cachorro, vem pra cá me ajudar.
Acorda, Stênio! Stênio! Respira! Respira, Stênio! Merda!
The next one I watched on Netflix. This is another one that I heard someone bring up. This is Lifechanger, and this is kind of a lower budget film. And right off the bat, I saw Bill Oberst Jr. was in it, and it took me a while to realize that he is the narrator, the voice of the main character in this film. Lifechanger. This is basically about a body hopping serial killer that must hop bodies to survive. They must jump to body to body to body, or the body will start to rot and they will die. Is what they think. They're terrified. But this serial killer has told that it happens quicker and quicker now. And they used to be able to stay in bodies for years. And when he was in a body for years has passed, he was madly in love with this woman. And you learn that he's constantly being obsessed with this woman, and he can't feel his own love. He only feels love through the characters. So when he jumps into there, he's the life changer, or the life. He basically becomes them. He absorbs their feelings, their emotions, who they are, and everything like that. In the opening of this movie, it's very intense. He wakes up as a woman and it has a man's voice. It has Bill Oberst Jr.'s voice, and he's talking about the process and everything and who he is, and it's really creepy. And he's always like kind of trying to get their voice down, and looking at himself in the mirror. And it's like a beautiful woman and everything like that. And over time, like I said, they rot quicker and quicker, and they show what happens when he does the switch. Really great special effects. This is a movie that it's dramatic, in a lot of ways. It's a love story in a lot of ways, and it has a batshit crazy ending, which I actually really liked. All in all, I thought this was an excellent movie because due to, how its originality and how it handled the stuff on a budget. You can tell it's kind of budget at certain times, and it's really interesting to see all these people be the same person and everything like that. I like that kind of element. And, I guess I haven't seen a body jumping horror film in a long time. We had stuff like, The Fallen or Shocker, or, that they can jump the body to body in some ways. And I think even The First Power, which I've actually not seen. But that's an interesting kind of horror movie trope or subgenre of it. But I thought this one was effective. I thought it ended really interestingly. I thought the effects were done fairly well, and the acting was pretty solid, and the character's intriguing, and they have a nice little history. I mean, both characters, the female, and the serial killer. So I liked it. Good stuff on Netflix.
I know love exists.
Hey, good morning. I'm Detective Ranson. Mind telling me where you were?
I take people, their voice, their shape, their look, their memories, their hopes and dreams, everything that makes somebody who they are. I take it and I keep it for good.
You hear, Rachel?
Do you consider yourself a good person?
Does being good really matter? Bad things happen to good people all the time, right?
If I don't do this, I'll die. And I'm not ready to die. Which means you'll have to.
In the quiet moments, my thoughts always turn to her.
Is that what you think we have? A connection?
I think we're kindred spirits, you and I.
There's just something familiar about you.
I won't let anything bad happen to you. I promise.
Okay, the next one is Draug, which I watched on Amazon Prime, and this is, I believe, a Swedish film. This takes place in the past, historical. I'm not going to tell you what time, but it's at a time when the Swedish lords were kind of being hated by the villagers or peasants because they were kind of taking over, maybe kind of pushing Christianity on top of, the pagan religions or whatever. This takes place in a very superstitious, almost supernatural time. Probably more of a medieval, not real time anyways. So we have here is this kind of Haxon, I believe his name is, and he takes his and is almost like adopted daughter type situation and a couple men to find a friend of his who is this religious guy who was going on kind of I don't want to say a crusade, but he was kind of making a trek across a big area, and he went missing. So he goes to this area, tells his friend about it, and his friend, these three, the one who went missing, him and his friend, all have kind of a bond with each other, and they must go and avenge or find out what happened to the other one. So he seems to be, his friend is kind of like the sheriff of the area, collects the taxes or whatever, kind of an asshole, a drunk, has a woman with him that he refers to as his slave. So he's not exactly a likable guy. So they decide to go around and find this guy and look for the person who disappeared. There's a group of people that are in the woods that are upset with them, and they have a lot of friction towards the community in general. So one of the guys that we meet is like the brother of somebody they stop at, and there's a really kind of intense conversation they have where they get the ale. And pretty soon in the woods they are attacked, and they suffer a little bit, get hurt and everything like that, and they press on forward, capturing the leader of the group, and they cross this river. And when they cross this river, they realize it's not only the villagers that they have to worry about. There's some sort of weird creature that's kind of like almost, I don't want to say Evil Dead creature, but it's dead, and it's supernatural, like a zombie ghost, I would say, kind of in that layer of a zombie kind of ghost deal, a little bit of both. So they have to deal with them. And they kind of have to survive. They have weird powers, and we hear kind of what happens as it starts to develop the past, and we realize some things about other characters. And then there's some good special effects, there's some good fight scenes, and the characters die that you don't expect to, and some of the leads are a little bit different than you expected. People don't die you expect to in the way they do. This movie has really great water stuff in here. Like, there's really good moments in the water fighting, really great drone shots or aerial shots of them swimming, some cool premonitions involving the water, and the premonition shots are also cool, where the girl seems to know exactly what's happening. And the way to stop these monsters is also terrifying, almost like a vampire to some sort of vampire mythology. Sometimes, somewhat, like maybe Vampire Circus, how they have to pull the shroud, so it involves finding the original corpse and everything like that. But there's some cool moments, there's some creepy moments. It does take a little long to get started. There's a lot of dialogue heavy moments, and by the time they actually get to the supernatural stuff, it's pretty far into it, maybe like almost the third act. So I could have used some more of that earlier on, but I do think it's fairly well shot, and at times it does this dark filter where it will get really dark and when the creatures are there, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. It was a little too dark, I think, and maybe it could have been brightened up. I would like to see a little bit more. That's kind of what they were going for, maybe hide some of the seams. But all in all, it's a really well made, kind of cool film with great location, beautiful woods, beautiful water. I'm not sure where this was shot, probably in Scandinavia somewhere, but very interesting. If you like medieval horror, if you're into stuff like The Headhunter, then check out Draug. I'd put them around the same caliber, to be honest. A little bit different. This more has more cast, of course, than the other one, but well acted, cool stuff, and real weird mythology and history with the monsters. So yeah, interesting.
Min vän ledde en missionär på norrstigen mot Hälsingland för någon vecka sedan. De kom aldrig fram. Var är de? Slog ni ihjäl dem?
Hammer time! For all who are willing to pay the price, we invite you to go through the mirror of life.
Come if you dare.
Hey guys, what's up? It is Hammer Time. There it is. And it's week 36? Who gives a shit? But this week we are reviewing the Roy Ward Baker Hammer film, The Vampire Lovers. This is the first in the Karnstein trilogy. Like Barn, but Karnstein trilogy.
Okay.
And this is based off the source material of Carmilla, which was like an old vampire story. I've actually not read it, but I have heard about it for years. You know, Carmilla is the name that pops up as, like, you know, a lot of horror items and everything like that. So, again, history guy. What century does this take place in?
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Well, but they look at Carmilla's tombstone.
It's 15 like something.
Like 15 something.
Yeah.
So my guess is this is like 17 something. And
yeah, okay, maybe.
Well, I think that because I think that's when the book was written. I think Carmilla's written in like the late 1700s and Stoker is like late 1800s. But I could be wrong. I've never read Carmilla, but from my understanding, it's before Lord Byron's The Vampire. Was it Lord Byron that wrote The Vampire?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember. But I think it's like one of like the first vampire novels.
Here we go. The plot of this one, it opens up kind of strange, where we have this guy like telling this story in the beginning where he's discovered I guess a brood of vampires. I'd call them a brood. And he realizes that if you take the shroud from their, I guess their slumber, wherever they're sleeping at, wherever they rest, their coffin, take a shroud, they must return to that shroud. So he takes one shroud knowing that they're vampires because they killed his sister or his brother, his sister. So what happens is the vampire falls in the shroud. He hacks their head off. This is right the first 5 minutes. And it's gorier than a lot of the Hammer movies right off the bat. They're not taking any prisoners. I think this one's definitely rated R. Yeah. So this is 71 or 71. So it's the Hammer's starting to push. This is probably the one that just like makes the biggest leap in sexuality and gore like right away. It's just like, nah, we're doing it now. And they hop in and they don't really look back after that, as far as I remember. So, okay, right after that, we kind of cut forward to where do we cut to exactly? Right after that, we are introduced to all the new major characters in the story, and later that guy does come back into play. But we're introduced to a general.
A general
played
at a
by
ball.
Peter Cushing.
Mm-hmm.
And basically a countess is traveling through, and she decides that she doesn't want to take her daughter with her. The countess is also traveling with this weird mysterious man in black, who I believe is from the source material of the Carmilla or whatever, but his character is kind of pulling the strings. You don't know much about him. Hopefully this guy kind of comes back in the Karnstein kind of legacy. So what happens is they decide to leave this daughter with the general, even though she doesn't seem very young. She's supposed to be 16. She's like 33 at the time. It's played by Ingrid Pitt, who has a huge cult following, probably very much so due to this movie. She later appears in Countess Dracula, another Hammer film. So what happens is she gives her name as Makilla. Her name changes. She's like kind of like Marcilla. And she stays with them, and she starts to feed upon the daughter. This is very much like a Dracula story, like Nina Harker or whatever story kind of deal. And from that, basically this vampire or Marcilla or whatever, Markilla, whatever her name changes, she kind of goes around the countryside feeding on beautiful young women.
Yeah, with Cushing, it's Marcilla. With the second family, it's Carmilla. And then the vampire's name is like Markala or Macala.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I don't keep track of it. It's a girl vampire.
Ingrid Pitt infamously said that she never saw Carmilla in this movie as a character who is homosexual. But she didn't see it as a nod. She said that she was just looking for, someone to connect with in a certain way. But this is the most lesbian thing that Hammer ever did. I'm sure of it. Like,
I mean, as somebody that like is fond of like yaoi manga, it's pretty lesbian.
It's pretty gay.
It's
very gay. Very gay.
There's no subtext. It is text.
Yeah. So she basically starts to seduce and feed upon these young girls who and eventually, of course, they die. And she changes her name Countryside, keeps picking up people. And then at night, she would go out and feast as well. But she always must return to her grave, which is where the guy in the very beginning slayed a vampire. So she kind of teleports and whatnot. She turns in a very strange performance. It's a very good performance, but like in the special features on the Vampire Lovers Shout Factory disc, some of the people are talking about she seems haunted. And she does. She doesn't seem like she's 100% in control. She almost does seem in love with the subjects that she's killing, but she can't really help herself, and it's almost a sexual thing to kill them as well. Probably like some sort of serial killer.
Yeah.
I really enjoy this one. I think it's great. I think that Ingrid Pitt is great naked. She's naked a lot in it. She looks amazing and very perky boobs. And in fact, there's a lot of nudity in here as well. From the other girls, also really good. The main kind of young girl.
The nudity is really casual in this.
And Bush too. And I was kind of surprised. It's almost more like a European. I know Britain's a European, but more so like a France or Spanish, Italian deal.
Right. It's not like they like focus on it like they would in an American film. It's like they're just in the frame naked, and we'll just go from there.
Hammer's infamous for focusing on like push up breasts sticking in your face, but here it's just lots of nudity and everything like that. And it's funny because Cushing's in this, but he's not really the lead. He has a small role, and I think this might be the one where he had to leave partially, had an emergency, so he only shows up in the beginning and end. I'm not 100%, but that did happen with one of his movies, and I can't think of one of the Hammer ones, but I can't think which one it was. But really, this is another kind of twisted love story here. It's shot great. It looks great. It doesn't look cheap at all. The acting's top-notch. It's one of their finest efforts for sure. And I think Roy Ward Baker is kind of an underrated director. Like I said, Quatermass in a Pit was a big movie. Not an easy movie to direct, I don't think. And it was very well executed. Some of his Draculas are also good. I don't think he did Taste the Blood. I think it was Terrence Fisher. I think he did Scars, which is okay. But he's done some other stuff as well. Like I always mention, he did Volta 4, which I've always enjoyed, and some Monster Club, so some Amicus anthologies. I love this one, actually. I think this one's great.
I thought this one was pretty... I liked it. It was really good. There's a few, like, nuanced things where I'm kind of like, I don't understand why they went this route, because it doesn't really make sense. And I think the big thing is the Countess that's, like, touring the countryside, that is, like, Carmilla's mother. She's a countess, I think people would be aware that she would have a daughter.
Okay. Or maybe she's not a real countess, but we don't really know much about her. We never just find anything about her, and we never find out about the Man in Black. Like, we don't know who this guy is. And hopefully he's a carry-on through all three of the Karstein trilogies. Lust of the Vampire, and then finally, what is the third one? Twins of Evil, which I have seen, and I don't remember the guy in black in that one at all. I believe Twins of Evil's third one. We'll find out.
Well, yeah, I've never seen any of the other ones.
I think these all take place in different parts of history, too.
Oh, okay.
So, like, it's the Karstein name, and it's through history, you know?
Right. And, I just think that was, like, a weird foot to go off of, because, like, as I'm watching the movie, I'm still thinking back to the original scene, because everybody knows the Countess. When she shows up at the ball, she's like, General, I have to leave my daughter here if there's been an emergency, and he seems fine with it. Like, he would know.
Oh, this has some familiar faces, too. Like we said, it has the, we think they would know, but they're always trying to be so polite over actually.
Yeah.
And there's so much politeness that gets these people killed, and nativity. But the maid, or the Mesmadel, or the lady who teaches her French, she was just in Horror of Frankenstein. She played kind of this shady kind of maid girl. She's gorgeous too, and she does a great job. And I actually generally liked the girl in Peril from Carmilla. I thought she was really good.
The second girl?
Yeah, I thought she was really good, and I felt sorry for her. Innocence about her, which is weird because she was really young when she made this movie. Mm-hmm. And she didn't even, she was like, I didn't really even understand the lesbian thing. I was very, I went to church a lot and everything like that, and I didn't even understand that lesbianism would be something that was shunned on. And it's kind of funny. She talks about it on the features and everything like that.
Yeah, the I don't know what you would call her, the lady from the Frankenstein movie.
Yeah, she was tutoring her French.
She's fantastic, and like towards the second and final act, there is a butler who is kind of like opposite of her, and they have a great, fantastic relationship.
It builds a lot of suspense because the butler starts to lead on, because the father figure is gone at that point, and starts to lead on that something's not right. He's not 100% superstitious, but he starts to put two and two together with some of the locals, and he's like, oh, I gotta put garlic in here, and gets the doctor on his side. So they're like putting garlic in the room, and Mademoiselle, I can't say that word, the French tutor name.
Mademoiselle?
I always have problems saying that. Obviously, you guys know I can't speak, but they're like going back and forth, and she's like, take those garlic flowers out. She's like, leave them in. But there's a high kill count, too. So many characters get killed in this one.
I did really like this, and aside, like I said, from the introduction, the opening scene's fantastic, but the whole introducing the Countess and Carmilla was just a bit, because as I'm watching, I'm going to go back to that constantly, like, well, they know who she is, but beyond that,
the Man in Black sucks too.
Yeah, he's
doesn't do anything.
I hope more shows up with him.
I don't think so though.
Probably not, but it's a solid movie. I'd give it like 3.5 or 4.
8 out of 10. 4 out of 5. I really like it. It's one of my favorite ones so far. I'm going to read the review out of John Stanley's Creature Features, and this is out of 5 stars. Vampire Lovers, 1970, 3 out of 5 stars. Initial entry in Hammer's Karstein series with Ingrid Pitt as the beautiful, busty Mrparka. Sequels were Lust for Vampire and Twins of Evil. It features a sensuous sex romp between two gorgeous babes, heavily edited by U.S. censors, who engage in streaking and breast biting. Peter Cushing is General Speitsdorf, the exorcist who must behead Mrparka, an anagram of Carmilla. Anagram, the word. I'm sorry, I always say that one wrong too, right? I said it right?
Anagram, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I don't think General Speedstor is the exorcist. It's more the other guy, the Bart Harto or whatever they find.
The guy in the beginning.
Yeah, but I actually do think that Cushing is the one that finishes
He is the one that beheads her.
So I guess he kind of is.
Yeah.
What do you got? He just mixed those two characters together.
Got it.
Save time.
Vampire Lovers, he's 3 stars. He does 4, right?
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's about where I'm at. James O'Neill, Terror on Tape.
Yeah, Terror on Tape.
It's an old book.
Sensuous Hammer film scripted from J. Sheridan Le Fanu's Carmilla about a lesbian vampire Pitt preying upon the beautiful teen daughters of several 19th century Styrian noblemen. An attractive production of rich colors and design, it contains now mild nudity and eroticism that was considered a daring play by Hammer back in 1970. Pitt and Cushing in a small role are excellent. Sequels Lust for a Vampire and Twins of Evil.
And here's another cool thing about this book, which I'm actually going to dive into real quick, is if they hit like a genre actor or actress or director, they will give you a little thing on them, and they got Ingrid Pitt down there. And this book was made in 1990, so it's Ingrid Pitt, 1944 too. Born in Poland as, I'm not going to try to say her full first name, look at that, Ingusheha Petrov. Ingrid did stage work in both Germany and Spain before landing her first film role in Spanish horror flick The Sound of Horror in 1965. After attracting attention in the supporting role in the terrific WW2 actioneer Where Eagles Dare, 4 years later Pitt was signed by Britain's Hammer Films, where she all too briefly became one of the most popular femme fatales. Sound of Horror, 65, The Omegans, 68, The Vampire Lovers, 70, Countess Dracula, 71, The House That Dripped Blood, 71, The Wicker Man, and Transmutations. The last film on there is a big turd. The Wicker Man's quite good. House That Dripped Blood, I think that might be an Amicus as well, anthology. So next week is The Vampire Circus, which I love, and Synapse Films put out a Blu-ray, and I've watched that one half a dozen times in my life on DVD and Blu-ray. And it's got a great poster. Even I think it's featured in Fright Night. The poster is. So final words on Vampire Lovers. Are you looking forward to the other Karstein trilogy?
In a way, yes. I think it's going to be a shame that none of the characters are probably going to be in it.
Yeah, they're not. But you know what I like? I like how, Count Dracula was like this almost sexual predator towards women, but they just make Ingrid Pitt the sexual predator in here. You know what I mean? Like, she's like sitting there like almost seducing and looking like a monster, and being like the sexual like sadist on the women instead of a woman doing that, and is a little different back in the day.
And no, I like it because her performance is like when she's not a vampire,
Nuance.
when she's a human, she's very friendly, approachable, very sweet and caring. Like she earns people's trust. Where Dracula is just in general creepy and
shut up.
Yeah, and her performance, like I said, like when she actually goes to eat or feast upon someone, there's almost a sense of regret because she wants to be close to these people and she wants to love them, but she has that desire to, like she can't fight it.
There's a naivety between her too, and like a almost like she's naive, but she understands her circumstances, and it's a sadness. There's like a great sadness, and she's very naive at the same time. Remember when the one girl's talking, the second girl, she's like, "Oh man, I wish a lovely man would come get me," and she says, "You don't wish that, and I don't wish it either." Like he's like, "I hope you don't wish that." It's just like right there and then, like back
but
in the day.
No
people...
lesbian subtext, guys. No lesbian subtext.
That's
it's text.
No, like I mean, it's just like. And most normal people nowadays weren't interested would be like, "What the fuck are you talking? Get out of my house!"
Like,
but like they're so polite there. They're like, "Oh, you're silly." It's like Ed Gein, like, "I got a woman dropped up." "Oh, you're silly." But anyways, highly recommended. Shout Factory did a pretty good job on this Blue. Had some features, and it was back when their Blu-rays were like $12 or anything like that. So if this one's still around, grab this one up. It's well worth the price.
Yeah.
Come with us if you dare into a twilight world of unspeakable horror.
You must die. Everybody must die.
Sample, if you dare, the deadly passion of the vampire lovers. The vampire lovers. Perverted creatures of the night find their victims everywhere. The unsuspecting merrymakers in glittering ballrooms with their young and tender throats. The sleeping beauties whose troubled dreams turn into real, terrifying nightmares.
It was a cat! A huge cat!
For God's sake, save her!
No escape till their evil hearts are stilled for all eternity. If one remains, yes, even one, there will be thousands more. Beware. Beware the cold caress, the kiss that kills. Beware the vampire lovers.
Okay, let's get into these questions. Question, we have Tim Hayes. Did Evita ever have a Blu-ray release? Yes, it did, actually. I almost bought it, but I did not. And he says, I remember having the VHS and DVD releases. Got Jesus Christ Superstar on Blu-ray, so that should be good. Okay, Nick Mua. Are any of your friends not even a little envious of your fierce Viking beard? Will you let it grow even longer? I'm growing this out for a movie. A couple movies. So after that, I'll probably shave it because I'm not big on the gray. I'm only 33. I look 40. So, hey, I don't know if anybody's jealous. Some guy at work said I look like a Viking the other day, so, Any unconventional smart horror movies that you really like? The kind that doesn't feature characters so dumb it becomes painful? Mine are Scream, Cherry Falls, and more recently Cut, Shoot, Kill. The kind that doesn't. Good contemporary horror movies that don't feature... conventionally smart, but they don't feature dumb characters. Ooh, let me think. You mean like self-aware characters? I mean, because Scream, I'm sure there's some dumb characters in Scream. Movies that don't feature dumb characters. Jeez. I'd have to really think about that. Try to think of characters that were really clever. You know, a lot of film noir characters I think are super clever, more so than horror movies. So like, you know, like a lot through their dialogue and everything like that. Jeez, what was some of the ones I'm thinking of? I'll have to get back to you on that. I can't think of any that really smart characters off the top of my head. I think in The Thing, there's some intelligent characters. I think MacReady is pretty smart, so let's go with that. And I guess is that contemporary? What's contemporary nowadays? Did you follow the Golden Globes at all? Golden Globes at all? If so, what are your thoughts on the winners? I never follow that stuff, but I did watch the Ricky Gervais, thing afterwards because everybody's talking about it. So then we have some answers from last week, and this is basically what I asked was your favorite movie-inspired songs. Some people took it as your favorite songs from movies, but some people took it from songs that were inspired by movies. I was thinking more the latter, but whatever. So Tony the Dead, this is a tough one, but to name a few, Head Over Heels from Tears for Fears and Donnie Darko, the entire Dawn of the Dead soundtrack, the entire One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest soundtrack, especially the Medication Time song, Vampire Rose, 1978, Happy New Year's Buddy, quite a few songs come to mind, Psycho Killers, Talking Heads, based on Norman Bates, Billy Idol, Eyes Without a Face, The Ramones, Chainsaw, M.O.D., Freddy Krueger, Alice Cooper, The Man Behind the Mask. Way too many to add. Some good ones. And he also asked, or was this Tim Hayes? I'm sorry, I think it was Tim Hayes. I misput this question. Were Vipco DVDs just VHS masters upscaled to DVD? Yes, they were. So we have Zach Nolan. Entombed, first album, Left Hand Path, one of the best death metal albums of all time. First song has the Phantasm soundtrack in it. Eric Townsley, favorite movie-related song is The Loved Ones, got stuck in my head for some time. I Kid, favorite song inspired by movies, I'd have to say More Human Than Human by White Zombie about Blade Runner, and Bela Lugosi's Dead by Bahas about Dracula. Nick Mua, songs about movies I really like. Dream Warriors, Dokken, Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Between Angels and Insects, Papa Roach, Fight Club. Caught Somewhere in Time, Iron Maiden, Time After Time. Clearwater Revival, All That Money Can Buy. He put 1941, but that can't be right if that's Clearwater Revival. John Soloway, Alice Cooper, He's Back, The Man Behind Your Mask. Don Petit, Oingo Boingo, Weird Science. Zach Puccinelli, Sunny Boy, the theme song by David Carradine. Alan McNeil, Dokken, Dream Warriors. Matthew Hudson, despite my love/hate relationship with Rent, I'd have to say I love the song Halloween. A lot of the film imagery in that song. Also like Every Movie's a Circus from Sunset Boulevard, but my favorite song written for a movie, tough one, Restless Heart, Running Away With You by Harold Faltermeyer and John Parr for The Running Man. I love that one. This is no game. I see it in your eyes. I swear I heard you calling my name. I remember being drunk in the back of a pickup truck, freezing cold in the winter, sipping out of a bottle of whiskey. That was years ago when I was in high school, but still singing that song. That's why I bring it up. But I love that song. Love Running Man. Joe Grizzafiti? Please, somebody pronounce his name for me. Eastbound and Down and Holiday Road. Danny Foster, Motorhead, Hellraiser. Oh, that Hellraiser 3 at the end, right? Jordan Bibby, Nightmare on Elm Street by DJ Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince. Amy Fox Goodwin, Goblin, Tenebrae main theme. Corey Zunk, Danger Zone, Top Gun Baby. Jeremy R. I mean, I don't know what other film impacted me more growing up, honestly, and he puts Deborah Harry and Robin Zander, Send Love Through. Finale on Rock and Roll. Melanie Brooke Odom, Pet Cemetery by the Ramones, of course. I don't want to be buried. Let me flip this page. Stephen McGivern, Tom York, Suspirium. Imagine from the new Suspiria movie. Marco Vitinian, Robert Tepper, No Easy Way Out. David Gibson, Love Him or Hate Him. Eminem did a song called Rabbit Run on the 8 Mile soundtrack that was incredible. Lose Yourself was more of a corny radio hit, but this song had no chorus, and I love how it builds in pace. Even if you don't like this dude, this is worth checking out. You know, I don't dislike Eminem. I'm no expert, but, you know, for a while I listened to a couple albums back in the day, you know, just heard them. My friends would play them a lot, and I liked what I heard. Will England, in the movie House on Sorority Row, there was a band playing at the party called 4 out of 5 Doctors. They are a real band, and they're pimp. LL. So Modern Man is one. I love David Hess's score / soundtrack for Last House on the Left. Roads Leads to Nowhere. Wait for the Rain. Oh, I love that song. awesome. I love Vincento Thomas opening theme from Jess Franco's Faceless. It's so cheesy, I love it. In the movie Boarding House, two of the main actors, Janama and Kalasu, have their band at the time Lightstorm featured in the movie. I thought they were great. Haha. I have a lot more, but these are some of the kind of oddball ones I love. He also says, I also love Luke Campbell's music in the Campbell Brothers movies. Here's one of their songs I love, I Believe in You, from the movie Demon Summer, The Killer Dudes, I Believe in You. And he also puts, also on Cordoba Nights, also by the Campbell Brothers. I really love the opening credit song featured in the trailer. I asked Luke Campbell on Facebook one time about the music in this and his other films. He said that his song, he no joke, saved off the side of a road. He found a pile of records being thrown away and found this song among them and put it in the movie and can't find any information on it. I can't find that song anywhere else, but it's awesome. Shane Glass, Shakedown by Bob Seger from Beverly Hills Cop 2. Maddie Deering, New Year's Evil. Peter England, San Antone, used in the Rolling Thunder and the Ninth Configuration. Good song. Andre Scott, She's on Fire from Scarface. Dream Warriors by Dokken and The Darkest Side of Night from Friday the 13th Part 8. Kyle Anthony Rayburn, Little Green Bag by George Baker, selection from the film Reservoir Dogs. Love it. Marcus Cook, UHF, Weird Al Yankovic. Shashin Barbarian, Worms of the Earth by Finch from the Underworld soundtrack. Jonathan Doe, Necrophagia, Cannibal Holocaust. Jonathan Wilhelm, Dokken, Dream Warriors, of course. Cody Lee Harden, Powder, the theme from Powder. Fuck you, Cody. Nathan Thomas Milliner. I always have trouble saying that. I want to say Miller so bad. Milliner. Tonight is What It Means to Be Young from Streets of Fire. Cool movie. C.F. Benner, probably Burned by The Cure from The Crow. Stan Moreland, Let's All Chant from The Eyes of Laura Mars. Mike Merriman, Wooly Bully always takes me back to the Joker versus Animal Mother dick measuring scene in Full Metal Jacket. Classic movie. Ronnie Tippert Jr., The Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News. The Touch by Stan Bush, and Kenny Loggins' movie collection. All genius. Belinda McKay, Cry Little Sister from The Lost Boys. So generic and basic, but I don't care. Love it too. Tom Brunner, are you asking for a song about movies? Celluloid Heroes by the Kinks, or a song from a movie? Call Me theme from American Gigolo by Blondie. Either way, your answer is one or the other. I was asking more for, the song about movies. Thomas Filino, science fiction double feature has always been a favorite of mine. Great one from Rocky Horror. Technically it could be both, because it could be a song about a movie in a movie, like Thomas's is, Rocky Horror, Then we have Brian Sandler, Detroit Rock City. Mike Parker, any Rocky theme, or any Rocky song, he says. Amy Fox Goodwin, I originally misunderstood what you were asking, so here's my new answer. Orchestra maneuvers in the dark if you leave. Susie Ayala, Marilyn Manson, I Put a Spell on You. Jason Johnson, Free Bird, End of Devil's Rejects. Jason Lindbergh, L7, Shitless, Natural Born Killers. I love that opening. Beep, beep. You made my shit list. A lot of singing by me. I'm a terrible singer, so let me know that, guys. I'm the worst. Amy Fox Goodwin. Brian and I had a discussion about music and movies last night, thanks to our friend. She basically goes on and says they had a big discussion about it, and she lists Pretty Poison, Catch Me, I'm Falling. So, yeah. And then we have some old answers for what was your favorite movies about making movies or whatever about movies. So Chris Neal, Brutal Massacre, comedy. I know it doesn't match any of the other classics on here, but it's so much fun. I love that movie. Peter England, also check out Visions of the Light. Peter McCain, this film is not yet rated. And WTF, What the Flick. Sorry for the awkward question. Oh, this is a question that I forgot to answer. But do you manscape, or are you naturally as smooth as a Ken doll? Just asking because I am a fucking Sasquatch and I am always jealous of Barbie Bod. Great video, man. I'm not completely hairless. I mean, I have hair down my chest and a little on my stomach. I shave when I have to for movies, but for the most part, I just let it go. I'm not super hairy. I don't have any hair on my shoulders or any on my back, really. So, average hairy, I guess. My legs and arms have hair on them. But that's what it is. Andrew DMB. Movies about movies. Well, here's my list. Cinema Paradiso, Matinee, Barton Fink, This is Spinal Tap, Argo, Boogie Nights, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Player, Ed Wood, The Disaster Artist, Spaceballs, The Last Picture Show, The Stuntman, The Star is Born, Sunset Boulevard, The Big Picture, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Tropic Thunder, Gods and Monsters, Be Kind, Rewind, and I know I'm leaving out so much more, but that's all that comes to mind that I've actually seen, and not sure if I'm 100% accurate on some of these in regard to your question. But I thought I'd also add in on another note to let you know I've listened to the top 10 of 2019 of 22 Shots of Moods and loved it. I guess I'm going to read this whole thing. I thought you were all great with your picks, even if it was 7 hours long. I listened to the whole thing, never bored once, so good for you, Dave. You seem to be getting used to the podcast format and adapted quite quickly to it. You're definitely one of my faves on special guest, I mean. Don't want to offend the 3 founding fathers. I watch the podcast religiously. But just nice to hear your thoughts on film is a pleasure. And always get different perspectives in group type setting anyways. Waiting on your next video, pal. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much. But, I've podcasted before. Me, Dustin, and Brandon had a podcast that is on the feed of this podcast, the Shut Up Brandon podcast. It's I put the audio versions of this on there. But if you go back, there's a bunch of old ones from like 2015. So if you're interested, they're there. Then Brian Nielsen, he asked a question, which I missed. So not sure if this counts, but I fucking love the last horror film from 2003 well, I guess it's not a question, but he put question week. Sorry, my bad. For the uninitiated, a serial killer rents a shitty post-Scream slasher movie and records a self-made documentary of his killings over it. I actually really like that movie, too. I've seen that a handful of times, and every time I put it in, I'm like, I don't remember. What's going on? In the opening of the last step, both times it got me. I watched it. I know I watched it a couple times, but the last horror film from 2003 is an underrated found footage movie, totally. Bumpus Hounds, and his favorite movie about making movies is The Stuntman. I guess the question of the week is, what movies make you hungry? I've heard people say Quentin Tarantino's Hateful Eight makes them hungry, but what movies make you hungry? Is it Ravenous? Anything. Let me know. So, I guess we're going to hop into the update. I'll be back with you guys. Okay, let's get into this. First, we have a 4K release of Joker. I really like this. I saw it in theaters. Can't wait to rewatch it. You know how I feel about superhero films. I don't feel like this is one. I don't hate superhero films, like you guys know what I say about them, but this one I think is better. I think it's different, and I really loved it. Joaquin Phoenix, great performance. Hell, I told you guys, bumped it. Told you guys I haven't watched this movie yet, so the 4K was dirt cheap, so I'm going to watch it in style in 4K. Get out. I know it's going to be good. Then we got some Blu-rays. We got The Lighthouse. Love the hell out of this movie. Great stuff. Willem Dafoe, Robert Pattinson, 2 of the best performances of the year. One of the best films of the year. Then we got a cheapie here. Wrath of the Titans, Clash of the Titans, the remake, and then the original Clash of the Titans triple feature. I really wanted it for the original Clash of the Titans, but hell, it's the same price and has 3 discs in here, so boom. I grew up watching Clash of the Titans. I'm semi-curious about the remake and the sequel to that. Then we got The Mummy Shroud, Shout Factory. You know, I think this is the 3rd in the Mummy one with, is this the one with Michael Ripper? Yep, this one's pretty solid, actually. Best Mummy movie Hammer did so far that I've seen. We have Demons of the Mind, Patrick Magny. That's cool. He's in this one. Yeah, this is a Hammer film as well. Not seen this one. Can't wait. Then we got Night Patrol. Linda Blair in here. This is who's in this one? Geez, Billy Bartley's in here. This is a Jackie Kong movie. Hopefully it's the longer cut. I know there was some weird thing about this one being cut, but yeah. All 3 of her movies are on Blu-ray. Maybe she's got more, but we got Force 5, 5 Against 1,000. The odds are even. This is Scorpion releasing, I believe. Looks cool. Never seen it. So, wanted to grab that. Got a good deal on it. Then we got the Theta Girl, or the Theta Girl, sorry. She bought the pills, he bought the kills. Independent movie. Bought it on Amazon. Not sure how it is. Look like it could have potential. So let me know if anybody's seen it. Then we got some cheapy Blu-rays. Survival of the Dead. Had the DVD. This is my least favorite probably of Romero's movies. But gotta have all Romero stuff on Blu-ray. Now was the time. And I want to revisit. I don't know if I prefer this over Dyer or not. It's been a while, so. Then we got Scream 5 movie set. I already had the 4th one on Blu-ray. Never watched it, actually. But I had these on DVD. It was dirt cheap to upgrade. I know this isn't the new set, but Scream 1, 2, and 3, and a couple bonus discs on there. So for the price, I don't care if it gets re-released. Now I got them for like $10, so. Planet Terror. Wanted the extended cut, the longer cut, you know. Because I had Grindhouse on Blu-ray and just this on DVD. Really enjoyed this one. And last Blu-ray is Death Proof, which I haven't watched in a long time. Probably was my least favorite Tarantino, but I don't think it's bad. I just really need to revisit it and find a new appreciation for it, I'm sure. Love Kurt Russell in it. Love him in it. And last, the DVD. In the opening, I told you the story about getting fucked by Best Buy, the Golden Glove DVD. I'm going to have to import the Blu-ray. Best Buy, go fuck yourself. So, yeah. Back to the video, guys. All right, before we go, I want to give a shout out to Dan the cameraman. He's a new Patreon. Thank you very much. If you guys want to do the Patreon, whatever, it's all below information. Thank you very much, Dan the cameraman, and see you guys later. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching, and as always, you guys have a good one.